overwhelmed by the nuances of the business world, you are surrounded by a plethora of questions. Is there a one-stop solution for my business queries? How can I meet the who's who of the business industry? Is there a platform where I can showcase my products and services to the world? Is it possible to access all the global tender information and business leads at one place? Who can give my business the financial support it requires? Here is the solution you have been searching for. Overwhelmed by the nuances of the business world, my CII surrounded by a plethora of questions. An online one-stop solution for my business and a unique interactive business platform, the who's who, which has got a large base of subscribers. Is there a platform where I can showcase my products and services to the world? Update. Is it possible and to access all the global tender information and business? Of the business world, you are surrounded by a plethora of questions. Is there a one-stop solution for my business queries? How can I meet the who's who of the business industry? Is there a platform where I can showcase my products and services to the world? Is it possible to access all the global tender information and business leads at one place? Who can give my business the financial support it requires? Here is the solution you have been searching for. CII presents mycii.in, an online business resource center and a unique interactive business platform, which has got a large base of subscribers. mycii.in gives you a platform to multiply, update, seek, and enrich your knowledge so that your business goes places. Multiply your business prospects. With access to over 5,000 global live tenders on display every day. Get multiple opportunities, upcoming business initiatives, and business leads. MyCII's Finance Facilitation Center backs up many businesses with financial support. Finance Facilitation Center is one-stop resource point for attending to the needs of the SMEs by bridging the gap between banks and SMEs, sharing information about SMEs schemes and providing online training programs on numerous economy and business prospects. Online B2B Zone offers excel growth prospects and lets industries derive value by accessing info about online B2B meetings, partners, trends in the market, and verified tested industry catalogs. MyCII.in keeps the industries updated with up-to-date accurate information about government notifications issued by state and the center, policies and investment trackers, schemes for SMEs and economy updates. What's more, you can also seek advice and guidance from experts on business structure, market intelligence, competitive scenario, legal aspects, and industry-specific inputs. Also, with online communities section, you get the opportunity to be a part of various experts, functional and sectoral communities which facilitate active discussions, expert guidance, and peer-to-peer interaction. MyCII.in also enriches your business knowledge and offers various special services for the MNCs and SMEs. You can access more than 20,000 knowledge resources, valuable webinar recordings, more than 1,000 publications, and sectoral vision documents to intensify your knowledge. Apart from all these, MyCII's e-events library lets the members access missed conferences and events digitally, take advantage of business networking, and meeting relevant people across the industry. And that's not all. Over 16,000 minutes of online masterclasses concluded by experts on world-class manufacturing, compliances, export and import, and many others enable industries to acquire the leading guidance and precision. With My Account section, business users can not only customize their company profile, but their preferences in terms of industry, country, state, frequency of the updates and alerts as well. Not only this, MyCII.in delivers personalized and customized alerts in your inbox, which makes it easy for the members to update themselves. Quite rightly then, MyCII.in is an online business resource center that provides a world of opportunities for industries. Download CII app in your phone and get access to knowledge, information updates, networking and finance facilitation through MyCII.in. MyCII.in provides unlimited access to the CII members so that all the departments can get their hands on relevant information. For more information, log on to MyCII.in today and change the way you do business. Overwhelmed by the nuances of the business world, you are surrounded by a plethora of questions. Is there a one-stop solution for my business queries? How can I meet the who's who of the business industry? Is there a platform where I can showcase my products and services to the world? Is it possible to access all the global tender information and business leads at one place? Who can give my business the financial support it requires? Here is the solution you have been searching for. CII presents MyCII.in. an online business resource center, and a unique interactive business platform, which has got a large base of subscribers. MyCII.in gives you a platform to multiply, update, seek, and enrich your knowledge so that your business goes places. Multiply your business prospects. With access to over 5,000 global live tenders on display every day. Get multiple opportunities, upcoming business initiatives, and business leads. MyCII's Finance Facilitation Center backs up many businesses with financial support. Finance Facilitation Center is one-stop resource point for attending to the needs of the SMEs by bridging the gap between banks and SMEs, sharing information about SMEs schemes and providing online training programs on numerous economy and business prospects. Online B2B Zone offers excel growth prospects and lets industries derive value by accessing info about online B2B meetings, partners, trends in the market, and verified tested industry catalogs. MyCII.in keeps the industries updated with up-to-date accurate information about government notifications issued by state and the center, policies and investment trackers, schemes for SMEs and economy updates. What's more, you can also seek advice and guidance from experts on business structure, market intelligence, competitive scenario, legal aspects, and industry-specific inputs. Also, with online communities section, you get the opportunity to be a part of various experts, functional and sectoral communities which facilitate active discussions, expert guidance, and peer-to-peer interaction. MyCII.in also enriches your business knowledge and offers various special services for the MNCs and SMEs. You can access more than 20,000 knowledge resources, valuable webinar recordings, more than 1,000 publications, and sectoral vision documents to intensify your knowledge. Apart from all these, MyCII's e-events library lets the members access missed conferences and events digitally, take advantage of business networking, and meeting relevant people across the industry. And that's not all. Over 16,000 minutes of online masterclasses concluded by experts on world-class manufacturing, compliances, export and import, and many others enable industries to acquire the leading guidance and precision. With My Account section, business users can not only customize their company profile, but their preferences in terms of industry, country, state, frequency of the updates, and alerts as well. Not only this, MyCII.in delivers personalized and customized alerts in your inbox, which makes it easy for the members to update themselves. Quite rightly then, MyCII.in is an online business resource center that provides a world of opportunities for industries. Download CII app in your phone and get access to knowledge, information updates, networking, and finance facilitation through MyCII.in. MyCII.in provides unlimited access to the CII members so that all the departments can get their hands on relevant information. For more information, log on to MyCII.in today and change the way you do business. Overwhelmed by the nuances of the business world, you are surrounded by a plethora of questions. Is there a one-stop solution for my business queries? How can I meet the who's who of the business industry? Is there a platform where I can showcase my products and services to the world? Is it possible to access all the global tender information and business leads at one place? Who can give my business the financial support it requires? Here is the solution you have been searching for. CII presents MyCII.in, an online business resource center and a unique interactive business platform which has got a large base of subscribers. MyCII.in gives you a platform to multiply, update, seek and enrich your knowledge so that your business goes places. Multiply your business prospects
with access to over 5,000 global live tenders on display every day.
Get multiple opportunities, upcoming business initiatives and business leads. MyCII's Finance Facilitation Center backs up many businesses with financial support. Finance Facilitation Center is one-stop resource point for attending to the needs of the SMEs by bridging the gap between banks and SMEs, sharing information about SMEs schemes and providing online training programs on numerous economy and business prospects. Online B2B Zone offers Excel growth prospects and lets industries derive value by accessing info about online B2B meetings, partners, trends in the market and verified tested industry catalogs. MyCII.in keeps the industries updated with up-to-date accurate information about government notifications issued by state and the center, policies and investment trackers, schemes for SMEs and economy updates. What's more, you can also seek advice and guidance from experts on business structure, market intelligence, competitive scenario, legal aspects and industry-specific inputs. Also, with online communities section, you get the opportunity to be a part of various experts, functional and sectoral communities which facilitate active discussions, expert guidance and peer-to-peer interaction. MyCII.in also enriches your business knowledge and offers various special services for the MNCs and SMEs. You can access more than 20,000 knowledge resources, valuable webinar recordings, more than 1,000 publications and sectoral vision documents to intensify your knowledge. Apart from all these, MyCII's e-events library lets the members access missed conferences and events digitally, take advantage of business networking and meeting relevant people across the industry. And that's not all. Over 16,000 minutes of online masterclasses concluded by experts on world-class manufacturing, compliances, export and import and many others enable industries to acquire the leading guidance and precision. With My Account section, business users can not only customize their company profile, but their preferences in terms of industry, country, state, frequency of the updates and alerts as well. Not only this, MyCII.in delivers personalized and customized alerts in your inbox, which makes it easy for the members to update themselves. Quite rightly then, MyCII.in is an online business resource center that provides a world of opportunities for industries. Download CII app in your phone and get access to knowledge, information updates, networking and finance facilitation through MyCII.in. MyCII.in provides unlimited access to the CII members so that all the departments can get their hands on relevant information. For more information, log on to MyCII.in today and change the way you do business. Overwhelmed by the nuances of the business world, you are surrounded by a plethora of questions. Is there a one-stop solution for my business queries? How can I meet the who's who of the business industry? Is there a platform where I can showcase my products and services to the world? Is it possible to access all the global tender information and business leads at one place? Who can give my business the financial support it requires? Here is the solution you have been searching for. CII presents MyCII.in, an online business resource center and a unique interactive business platform which has got a large base of subscribers. MyCII.in gives you a platform to multiply, update, seek and enrich your knowledge so that your business goes places. Multiply your business prospects.
With access to over 5,000 global live tenders on display every day.
Get multiple opportunities, upcoming business initiatives and business leads. MyCII's Finance Facilitation Center backs up many businesses with financial support. Finance Facilitation Center is one-stop resource point for attending to the needs of the SMEs by bridging the gap between banks and SMEs, sharing information about SMEs schemes and providing online training programs on numerous economy and business prospects. Online B2B Zone offers excel growth prospects and lets industries derive value by accessing info about online B2B meetings, partners, trends in the market and verified tested industry catalogs. MyCII.in keeps the industries updated with up-to-date accurate information about government notifications issued by state and the center, policies and investment trackers, schemes for SMEs and economy updates. What's more, you can also seek advice and guidance from experts on business structure, market intelligence, competitive scenario, legal aspects and industry-specific inputs. Also, with online communities section, you get the opportunity to be a part of various experts, functional and sectoral communities which facilitate active discussions, expert guidance and peer-to-peer interaction. MyCII.in also enriches your business knowledge and offers various special services for the MNCs and SMEs. You can access more than 20,000 knowledge resources, valuable webinar recordings, more than 1,000 publications and sectoral vision documents to intensify your knowledge. Apart from all these, MyCII's e-events library lets the members access missed conferences and events digitally, take advantage of business networking and meeting relevant people across the industry. And that's not all. Over 16,000 minutes of online masterclasses concluded by experts on world-class manufacturing, compliances, export and import and many others enable industries to acquire the leading guidance and precision. With My Account section, business users can not only customize their company profile, but their preferences in terms of industry, country, state, frequency of the updates and alerts as well. Not only this, MyCII.in delivers personalized and customized alerts in your inbox, which makes it easy for the members to update themselves. Quite rightly then, MyCII.in is an online business resource center that provides a world of opportunities for industries. Download CII app in your phone and get access to knowledge, information updates, networking and finance facilitation through MyCII.in. MyCII.in provides unlimited access to the CII members so that all the departments can get their hands on relevant information. For more information, log on to MyCII.in today and change the way you do business. Overwhelmed by the nuances of the business world, you are surrounded by a plethora of questions. Is there a one-stop solution for my business queries? How can I meet the who's who of the business industry? Is there a platform where I can showcase my products and services to the world? Is it possible to access all the global tender information and business leads at one place? Who can give my business the financial support it requires? Here is the solution you have been searching for. CII presents mycii.in, an online business resource center and a unique interactive business platform which has got a large base of subscribers. mycii.in gives you a platform to multiply, update, seek and enrich your knowledge so that your business goes places. Multiply your business prospects.
With access to over 5,000 global live tenders on display every day.
Get multiple opportunities, upcoming business initiatives and business leads. MyCII's Finance Facilitation Center backs up many businesses with financial support. Finance Facilitation Center is one-stop resource point for attending to the needs of the SMEs by bridging the gap between banks and SMEs, sharing information about SMEs schemes and providing online training programs on numerous economy and business prospects. Online B2B Zone offers excel growth prospects and lets industries derive value by accessing info about online B2B meetings, partners, trends in the market and verified tested industry catalogs. mycii.in keeps the industries updated with up-to-date accurate information about government notifications issued by state and the center, policies and investment trackers, schemes for SMEs and economy updates. What's more, you can also seek advice and guidance from experts on business structure, market intelligence, competitive scenario, legal aspects and industry-specific inputs. Also, with online communities section, you get the opportunity to be a part of various experts, functional and sectoral communities which facilitate active discussions, expert guidance and peer-to-peer interaction. mycii.in also enriches your business knowledge and offers various special services for the MNCs and SMEs. You can access more than 20,000 knowledge resources, valuable webinar recordings, more than 1,000 publications, and sectoral vision documents to intensify your knowledge. Apart from all these, MyCII's e-events library lets the members access missed conferences and events digitally, take advantage of business networking and meeting relevant people across the industry. And that's not all. Over 16,000 minutes of online masterclasses concluded by experts on world-class manufacturing, compliances, export and import and many others enable industries to acquire the leading guidance and precision. With My Account section, business users can not only customize their company profile, but their preferences in terms of industry, country, state, frequency of the updates and alerts as well. Not only this, mycii.in delivers personalized and customized alerts in your inbox, which makes it easy for the members to update themselves. Quite rightly then, mycii.in is an online business resource center that provides a world of opportunities for industries. Download CII app in your phone and get access to knowledge, information updates, networking and finance facilitation through mycii.in. mycii.in provides unlimited access to the CII members so that all the departments can get their hands on relevant information. For more information, log on to mycii.in today and change the way you do business. Overwhelmed by the nuances of the business world, you are surrounded by a plethora of questions. Is there a one-stop solution for my business queries? How can I meet the who's who of the business industry? Is there a platform where I can showcase my products and services to the world? Is it possible to access all the global tender information and business leads at one place? Who can give my business the financial support it requires? Here is the solution you have been searching for. CII presents mycii.in, an online business resource center and a unique interactive business platform which has got a large base of subscribers. mycii.in gives you a platform to multiply, update, seek and enrich your knowledge so that your business goes places. Multiply your business prospects.
With access to over 5,000 global live tenders on display every day.
Get multiple opportunities, upcoming business initiatives and business leads. MyCII's Finance Facilitation Center backs up many businesses with financial support. Finance Facilitation Center is one-stop resource point for attending to the needs of the SMEs by bridging the gap between banks and SMEs, sharing information about SMEs schemes and providing online training programs on numerous economy and business prospects. Online B2B Zone offers excel growth prospects and lets industries derive value by accessing info about online B2B meetings, partners, trends in the market and verified tested industry catalogs. mycii.in keeps the industries updated with up-to-date accurate information about government notifications issued by state and the center, policies and investment trackers, schemes for SMEs and economy updates. What's more, you can also seek advice and guidance from experts on business structure, market intelligence, competitive scenario, legal aspects and industry-specific inputs. Also, with online communities section, you get the opportunity to be a part of various experts, functional and sectoral communities which facilitate active discussions, expert guidance and peer-to-peer interaction. mycii.in also enriches your business knowledge and offers various special services for the MNCs and SMEs. You can access more than 20,000 knowledge resources, valuable webinar recordings, more than 1,000 publications and sectoral vision documents to intensify your knowledge. Apart from all these, MyCII's e-events library lets the members access missed conferences and events digitally, take advantage of business networking and meeting relevant people across the industry. And that's not all. Over 16,000 minutes of online masterclasses concluded by experts on world-class manufacturing, compliances, export and import and many others enable industries to acquire the leading guidance and precision. With My Account section, business users can not only customize their company profile, but their preferences in terms of industry, country, state, frequency of the updates and alerts as well. Not only this, mycii.in delivers personalized and customized alerts in your inbox, which makes it easy for the members to update themselves. Quite rightly then, mycii.in is an online business resource center that provides a world of opportunities for industries. Download CII app in your phone and get access to knowledge, information updates, networking and finance facilitation through mycii.in. mycii.in provides unlimited access to the CII members so that all the departments can get their hands on relevant information. For more information, log on to mycii.in today and change the way you do business.
Good evening, sir.
How have you been, Imran?
Very well. Good to see you. Good to see you,
Hi,
sir.
Priya. How are you? Oh,
How are you, Shailesh Bhai?
hi, Anirban. Now you have joined as me. The same error that happened the last time we are reversing.
Really? I consciously used my.
So you were just, you're trying to trick me into doing.
Come back.
I didn't try to change that for you.
No, you'll do it at the back end. They'll do it at the back end, not to worry. So, welcome, Prerna. How are you? Welcome, Abhay.
Hi.
Hi, Nana. How are you?
Sir, I'm good, sir. How about you?
Good, all well.
Yeah.
Hi, Pratap. How are you?
Hi, sir. All good.
All good, lovely. And we have Tara already there or not yet there? Tara, yeah, I can't see you.
Sir.
Hi, good evening. And Anant, how are you, Anant?
Sir,
Good.
Anant is from our IT team.
Good. It's very nice to have all that support. Good. So what are we? Are we at? No, we still have a couple of minutes. So we'll let people join in. Any of our speakers not yet there, Nana? Or are we all set to go?
Sir, I hope I have shared the message on Mahua Acharya. You have seen it. She just got a call from Secretary Power, Ministry of Power for a meeting. So she had to opt out last minute.
Okay.
The rest of the speakers, panelists are already here.
Hello, Shailesh Bhai. This is Anish here.
Hi, how are you?
Hi,
Good
good.
to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So I think, we are ready for this final round of our series. And I must thank Anirban at the beginning for having been so inspirational in making this whole series happen. When we had a conversation, he quickly turned it into a 3-series interaction with all of you. And the first 2 episodes were just so wonderful. So I'm truly looking forward to this one. And thanks, Anirban, for bringing our 2 committees together and putting this together for all our members at CII.
You're welcome, Shailesh Bhai.
And let me thank all our panelists and all the people who have agreed to speak today in advance. I think it is such a great commitment to come and share insights and share views. And, that's what really creates what I call deep learning. It's only through experiences. It's impossible really to learn in any way better than just interacting with people who voluntarily share their time after significant preparation, which I'm sure all of you have done. And so let's jump into this third CII on Roundtable on the role of boards in ESG implementation. And indeed, the subtitle is even more interesting because there are a lot of people here who have created businesses around ESG. And so this is going to be a phenomenal session. We have a very young, very diverse, very exceptional set of people. And then I have the privilege and the tremendous opportunity of knowing most of you. And those who have not met, I will know through this session. But let me start with Priya. Why don't you go first and talk about how you are transforming spaces, transforming various things, and bringing ESG into every aspect of what you think, do, and actually promote. So Priya, over to you.
Thank you and good evening. And I'm very excited to be part of this discussion. Transformation is a word that Mr. Haribhakti and myself have had many a conversation about in terms of all kinds of transformation, right from digital transformation, which was something that was picking up 10 years ago, to what today we're referring to in this context as ESG-led transformation. So just a little background on myself. I've been working at the intersection of real estate and sustainability for about 14, 15 years now. At my company, FiSpace, we work in the commercial real estate sector to essentially transform assets from an ESG perspective. So what that means is we look at various aspects of the E, which is the environment, in terms of energy efficiency. How do you make buildings more energy efficient? Look at operational efficiency in terms of materials that go in, waste management, water management, the judicious use of certain construction techniques and materials as well. And in terms of the sort of social piece, which has to do with people and occupants in these buildings and what they want, is also a big part of what we look at. So myself, I look at the advisory piece for this, and we work with some commercial real estate asset owners in India and Singapore on their transformation initiatives. If I had to summarize the evolution of ESG so far in the commercial real estate space, I would say that from the time that I essentially immersed myself in the field, right up until maybe 2 or 3 years ago, real estate and construction at large was very much focused on the E within sustainability. So that had to do with fantastic initiatives with research and development for energy efficiency systems. So whether it's a more efficient elevator or better quality glazing for your facades, more effective air conditioning units, there was a sort of push factor from developers, from manufacturers, and these asset owners. However, in the last 2 years, what I believe is that just the E of ESG isn't enough, and people are now looking at the S, at people, at what people want. And that's creating this holistic view towards sustainability, this ESG-driven approach to really understanding what buildings need and what people need. And this is happening because of two things. So now that push factor has turned into more of a pull factor. So occupiers and tenants of large office spaces, et cetera, they're asking for better spaces. They're asking for healthier spaces. Health and wellness in office buildings is something, I mean, I didn't even learn it when I was learning architecture many, many years ago. And 2 decades ago, if you were asked to design an office, it was always about how many people can I fit into this space? It was about efficiency. And that has gone completely 180 because people are now talking about giving people more space, more square footage per person. This is amplified, of course, by COVID. They're talking about even things like air quality. Is the air quality adequate for work to get done? And they're linking this directly to the quality of work and how they're able to engage with employees. So that was one part of the pull factor. The second is, of course, from a compliance requirement. So larger institutional investors are coming in and saying, you may have a green building, so to speak, but is it vibrant? Is it safe? Are you delivering healthy spaces? And they're willing to deploy capital to make sure that they are setting global precedents with the spaces that they build. So while the drivers of transformation are many, there's a strong business case for it as well. So a leading research firm, an international property consultant, was sharing information on the mature office markets in Asia Pacific. And what they said was that assets that are well upgraded, are more efficient, tend to command even higher rentals, anywhere between 10 to 40% higher than buildings that are not adequately upgraded with amenities, etc. They're saying that in these mature markets, even the asset value of some of these properties, of ESG compliant properties, can be higher between 6 to even 18%. So there was a case study in Australia for a building that was fully ESG compliant, that was able to generate that sort of value. And of course, you have your institutional investors and other funds that are now looking at just repurposing old, aging buildings into something that is the building of the future. It's adaptive. It's where people from all facets of life can come together to thrive in. So coming back to the topic of this panel discussion, which is the triggers for new kinds of businesses, what this tilt in this ESG-led transformation in commercial real estate especially is doing is, it is creating new businesses. So even if we look at an architect who's designing a building, is now training themselves to do it from a human-centric perspective. So it's no longer about how thick a wall is, or how do I squeeze people into a building. And while there was always a human-centric approach, I will defend that as an architect, it is now amplified even further. There's also a more responsible ecosystem of service providers for these assets, whether it's an F&B provider or transportation provider, or even your facilities manager. They're all looking to be more responsible. And of course, within the technology space, and there's enough people on the panel here who have experience with investing in a lot of these companies, people are building out really the technology of the future in terms of everything. You can measure footfall, space utilization. We've even come across an app where it can identify what mood you're in when you enter a building and accordingly deliver a suitable experience. So people are really pushing the boundary with that. And just to wrap up, I will say this, a lot of these new businesses, sort of have their future bolstered by the tilt in the sort of education that people are able to get in this field. So whether you're senior management going to Wharton to get a degree that focuses on ESG in businesses, or various certifications, Mr. Haribhakti is one of the first ESG certified board members as well, something first in India, I believe. There is a very solid and credible way to go about doing this. And that, is promising for these new businesses, because there's, of course, a great future in it. So that was my take on.
They are fabulous. What a great insight you have given. And I resonated with everything you said, particularly as I serve on the Brookfield REIT. And I've seen firsthand how all that you're saying is playing out in massive transformations happening in erstwhile spaces that I was familiar with. And now I'm completely wowed by the change that has happened. I'd only like to round off everything you said by saying that we also have a very strong layer of governance, both at all levels, from going from the internal governance to the CXO level governance, right up to the board governance, which oversees this whole transformation. So fantastic insights, Priya. Thank you very much. Well, let's deep dive into climate by going to Pratap. And Pratap, can you just talk to us about what Climate Collective does and how it sort of will have a very important role in transforming the way all of us think about how to go about business and how to run boards.
Right. Well, thank you first for this opportunity. I do work in the innovation space supporting clean tech startups. Before that, I was a solar developer, and just to share sort of my experience as a solar developer since 2009, it was very hard to sell solar until prices fell significantly, and then climate goals started to latch up. And that was kind of a lesson, not of, I don't know, let's say corporates following the market, but the practical nature of sustainability and climate change. And when you look at another example in this, a report that came out from IEA, International Energy Agency, a significant portion of the technologies we need to reach net zero, for example, by 2070 or much less 2050, don't exist today. And there is a role for innovation, and much of that, for obvious reasons, are good reasons, going to be led by startups. Startups take the risk oftentimes that others don't, and there is a complementary fit, at least in the space that I work in, clean tech startups, that could work in corporates for all our goals. So then when I started in Climate Collective about 5 years ago, it was a very quiet space. We support clean tech startups, India's first solar hackathon. Nothing much was happening. And in fact, there was no attention. There was interest in fintech, there was interest in many other areas of startup ecosystem. Something has changed on the ground the last 2 years. If you look at, for example, we also have some great clean tech entrepreneurs on the board here as well, I see. There's an explosion of innovation on the ground, from maybe 200, 300 startups back then to over 2,000 right now here in India. Globally, of course, similar trends, maybe a few years earlier. $60 billion went into clean tech startups last year. It's an unbelievable amount. It was about a 120 times increase in 8 years. And this is mostly commercial capital going into startups. So we're seeing something happening on the ground, marrying the need for clean tech innovation, which is often tied to resource efficiency, which ties into many goals of corporates. And it's a very positive confluence of factors here. Resource efficiency leads to higher stock prices. We've seen that in the data as well. For corporates taking the lead, even for corporate reasons, not for anything else. That's the way I believe we should look at least the innovation space as a supportive tool. There's always hard changes, hard decisions to make when it comes to sustainability. Some areas, some industries may be tougher than others. But if we can reduce those cost curves effectively, introduce more innovation that either make adoption easier or more suitable to different segments, of course, reduces costs. I think what we'll see over the next decade, these are secular trends, is an explosion of clean tech solutions getting piloted and adopted by corporates. Now, I'm not an ESG expert. I've been working in clean tech space. Of course, the overlap is there. I've met a lot of corporates. One of the key challenges today is data. You can't measure, you can't implement new policies or solutions without more data. So there's increasing number of innovation on the ground as well. So building data solutions for corporates as well as other actors, governments, et cetera. That's quite exciting, as well as just the number of clean tech startups is building solutions. We've been fortunate for starting early in one way, in that old as an organization, 5 years, but we've crossed 720 clean tech startups in our accelerators.
Wow.
It's 1 out of every 3 startups in India. Outside of India, in Africa and Southeast Asia, it's also continuing to grow, and it's deepening. It's not energy, just renewables or mobility. We're seeing alternatives to meat solutions coming up, of course, in plastic waste solutions across the board. When we started in energy, in 5 years ago, energy was dominant sector. Now, circular economy and plastic waste, and these solutions are really being taken up by the innovation ecosystem. Now we're also seeing this again, this confluence of factors, more corporates adopting, piloting these solutions. It's the missing link. As a practitioner supporting startups, it's great to see more and more entrepreneurs come up, but this when more corporates and governments and in some cases consumers and consumer solutions also adopt this, it really provides that necessary fuel to bring more innovation to the forefront, more capital to come in and supporting all this innovation happening here. So yeah, maybe I could stop there to, yeah.
But it's stunning what you said about the quantum of clean tech startups that you are actually seeing. And it's amazing that world over the interest in actually adapting and taking it forward is so fabulous. But if you want to do it in an orderly way, let's go to Thara to hear from her about what she has seen in ESG Minds on framework, standards, reporting, getting into the rough and tumble of getting yourself evaluated and all of that. So Thara, it's over to you to give us a sense of the excitement of ESG and how things are changing, and also the structure of how do we actually make it work.
Thank you, sir. And sir, you will know that personally, I could not ask for a better topic to talk about. Being an ESG consultant, we get to me, ESG is a super vertical and a super horizontal that cuts across everything and everyone. And being an ESG consultant, we get to talk to so many different kinds of business scenarios and situations and put the angle of ESG onto it. This is so very exciting. So when I looked at the topic, there were so many angles that I wanted to talk about. But then I'm going to structure my thoughts into 4 main dimensions. So I'll start with the first dimension, which is about how ESG is fundamentally changing some of the largest businesses and investors in the way they look at it. And when we are talking from an Indian example, how could we not talk about our focus on hydrogen, right? After the Reliance Aramco deal was called off in less than 2 years, the 30,000 crore Reliance petroleum facilities are being repurposed towards manufacturing of hydrogen. And another 70 billion investment is going into the production of green hydrogen, again from Adani Groups, targeting to make India the largest producer of green hydrogen by 2030. And potentially at the lowest unit price cost, and potentially making us also not to have import fossil fuels anymore. And I could not think of a better example than this, where ESG is disrupting some of the large businesses to relook at transformational ways of doing business. So then I'll go to the second dimension, which is about new businesses. And I'm going to take some examples of businesses who have just gone IPO or waiting to go IPO, and somebody who might go in IPO in a future time frame. So recently I heard about how Nykaa chairman spoke about how the company wants to focus on ESG aspects. And there are some actions associated with, as in there is a sustainability team coming in, chief sustainability officers, new directors being inducted, and so on and so forth. There are some very critical questions and criticism coming up as to why and how would Nykaa figure out how its supply chain in a second or third or fourth tier would bring in what kind of materials is it going to bring in, whether there is going to be any health hazard, or is it environmentally friendly, and all this, why and how would Nykaa worry about? Fabulous. And let's hope that Nykaa would find the answer in some time. And let me go to the next example of somebody who is waiting to go IPO, and which is nobody other than LIC, right? So LIC, you might have heard recently, is going in for a very detailed ESG rating and ranking. And it's very obvious that this is to get tapped on to the global ESG aligned assets. Now, and the third example I want to call out was of Licious, Unicorn, our meat and fish distributor of India. Recently, I was quite surprised that they bagged a prestigious award for their very ambitious goals on ESG goals and their plans. And E&Y is helping them with the whole strategy and things. And we have to look at it that this is a sector which is very highly unorganized and with least transparency. And Licious is trying to leverage technology to bring that transparency in, and that's the basis of their ESG strategy. So the point is, there are several such new businesses who are thinking and acting in these directions. And these are not, these companies haven't even come into the ESG radar of SEBI regulations yet. No, yet, are they doing it to woo their investors, or are they really trying to establish sustainability as their competitive advantage? There is definitely a message for us to listen to here. Now I'll go to the third dimension that I wanted to talk about, MSMEs. And these are also some of the examples that I'm closely working with some of my customers. And I was completely, thoroughly, pleasantly surprised to see the thought process coming from very small businesses too. One is about a US furniture retailer who's trying to establish himself as a sustainable brand. And there is a consistent messaging that this company is doing to its consumers about sustainable practices, sustainable brands, sustainable material, what is a sustainable way of using furniture, and so on and so forth. And the topmost prominent message that it sends out through all its channel is, do not fall a trap into fast furniture. Before you buy, think again, can you refinish, restore, or repurpose your existing furniture? So that's a huge mindset change. And I was so happy to work with this team to send out that message to the end consumer. The other example that I wanted to call about was a diamond merchant who, because his consumers have started asking now, is there a sustainability certificate attached to this diamond? Particularly because diamond is one of those industries who are not very happy with what is happening behind, right? So which mines are these coming from? What are the sustainable practices behind it? Are these blood diamonds? Were there human rights violation? And he was surprised that many consumers are asking these questions now. And now we are working together to put in a certification practice. He's actually making a trip to his supply chain to see how this is happening and put in place a certification process in place. So these are very examples of how ESG is actually making a mindset change at all layers, right? We don't know whether this is they're doing it because their consumer is asking, or this is their way of doing their business in the right way. But we can see that the ESG influence is reaching every layer. Now, if these three dimensions that I spoke about, the opportunities and the requirements that these three dimensions are creating is falling into the fourth bucket that I wanted to talk about. That is businesses like us. We are getting the requirements from these three teams, right? There can be people who are giving solutions, actual solutions in terms of renewable energy, or agri-tech, or ed-tech, or meat-based, plant-based meat. So all these solution providers are one bucket. Second bucket, the consultants like us who is trying to help the businesses to understand what their business strategy is, what frameworks to go by, what rating to go by, and all of those. Then the technology providers facilitating this entire journey through digital platforms. And finally, the data providers who is giving the trustworthy data. That forms the fourth bucket of new businesses created because of the ESG trust that has come in. Now, I would like to close my observations with calling out the statement from Larry Fink's letter. I will always find something to call out from BlackRock CEO's letter every time. So I wanted to call this out. He said the next 1,000 unicorns won't be search engines or social media companies. They will be sustainable, scalable innovators, startups that help the world decarbonize and make the energy transition affordable for all consumers. And I really hope and believe that this is going to be true. That's all I wanted to cover.
Fabulous, Tara. That was so passionate and so remarkable. What you brought out is that there's profit and not just cost in ESG implementation. And those who can see that connect can truly be transformational and change the world while they're doing good, and therefore they are doing well. And this was a very interesting sort of byline in the sustainability report of the Piramal Group, which came out today. And I had the amazing pleasure of reading it this morning, where they have talked about linking all of this into the business processes. So it seems like instead of only headwinds, we are having tailwinds as well to drive the ESG into a profitable, long-term, sustainable set of activities. So thanks for that very passionate speech that you made. We'll now go to Anish, who is transforming the world in terms of healthcare. and assistance to healthcare. And I must say, I had the privilege of working with his father over many, many years. Wonderful, wonderful human being, fully dedicated to making efficiency and effectiveness, both as the mantras. And I must say that Anish, you have carried on the baton and really transformed Epigeneris into a force that most people will hear about in times to come. So over to you, Anish.
Thank you, Sailesh Bhai. Sailesh Bhai is an old family friend, and as he said, he has known my father for many years. I'll just quickly talk about my company and the work that we are doing, because it very strongly ties into what I want to talk about in ESG. Firstly, I don't see ESG as something de novo, which has been born afresh. I see this as a very natural progression of what has been happening over the last 20, 30, 40 years, maybe, in terms of moving our minds away from just financial metrics, something which we could measure tangibly, to non-financial intangible metrics and seeing how to make them tangible. So my company, it was started by my father. We are a healthcare diagnostic startup. We have developed some very interesting diagnostic technology for the early detection of cancer. And Sailesh Bhai, we have the honor that he is a part of our board of directors, and we hope to be able to launch this test quickly over the next couple of months. The interesting part about our test is that we are all aware of something called stages 1, 2, 3, and 4 in cancer. If you have unfortunately had the chance to engage with this disease, which is also called the emperor of maladies, but there's also something called stage 0. Stage 0 of cancer is something which has been known to academics for decades. It has never had any practical relevance to either patients or oncologists, because there was no diagnostic technology available to detect cancer at stage 0. So much so that oncologists would be flummoxed in terms of, what do I do? Because I can't legally start treatment of cancer as long as it doesn't cross a particular threshold of stage 1 where it is radiologically detectable, right? And so in stage 0, if you detect it, and if you tell me, and I'm not talking about predisposition, I'm talking about occurrence of cancer, what should one do? And the reason why I want to tie it up with ESG is that I'm an engineer by qualification. I'm not a healthcare professional. My father was an engineer, and he used to talk about this framework. He used to talk about seed, sprout, bud, and flower stages of a problem. So the seed stage of a problem is the seed of a potential problem, a problem which has not even occurred as yet. The sprout stage of a problem is when the problem sprouts so that it is born. The bud stage of a problem is when a problem exists. If you look for it, you will find it. If you saw it, you will recognize it as a problem, but it has not become a crisis. The flower stage of a problem is when a problem has manifested itself wholly and it has become a crisis, which means that solving or addressing that problem is not an option, it's mandatory. You have to do it. And then, of course, my father used to joke that there is even something called the cauliflower stage, when it becomes a super crisis. Now, why is this framework important as a basis of what I want to talk about? That he used to say that human beings, companies, professionals, CEOs, boards, we are addicted to solving problems at the flower stage. Forget about addicted, we do not cognize, we don't recognize a problem until it is a problem at a flower stage, which means we don't define it as a problem until it is a problem at the flower stage. And we do not get the intellectual pleasure of solving a problem until we solve a problem at the flower stage. Okay. Why is this important? Now, like I said, we are a startup. We haven't even rolled out our services. We have a very strong scientific team, and the basis of the technology which we use to develop our diagnostic breakthrough, we're already disrupting it today itself. We are looking at 2-3 different alternative technologies which could increase, help us to scale, help us to reduce the cost of doing the same test, etc. Now I want to bring it into why is this important. We are living through unprecedented disruptive times. Okay, this disruption is driven by technology as the underlying enabler. But what is the disruption which is happening? It is about transparency. We are becoming aware of things which we were not. People used to live on information arbitrage, right? I know consultants know something the company doesn't. So the consultant is able to give you information which the company can't get for love or money. Accessibility. Things have become much more accessible today across the world. And information availability. Today, I know what to demand for. When we asked that, Thara, I think, mentioned about blood diamonds, right? Blood diamonds have been existing for donkey's years, right? It's only today's consumer who is asking that I want a diamond which is not a blood diamond, right? Many of us came to know something called blood diamond exists after the movie, all right? Now, the point I'm making is that in these times of very heavy disruption, while there are so many changes which are taking place, if we do not wear this hat, today I believe ESG, it has not become a flower stage problem, but it's at a very interesting cusp of bud to flower. Energy, I believe, since a lot of investment is being made in energy and people are talking about it, energy has already become a flower stage problem for the world, right? So while I feel happy that there is so much of talk and investment, I mean, we've talked about we will do 500, gigawatts of power in renewable energy, and we're talking about green hydrogen now. While I feel very happy and proud, I also am a little bit concerned because it's actually showing that our addiction to flower stage continues. Now, someone, I think Pratap talked about solar power, right? And we're talking about batteries. Now we are dependent on rare earths like lithium, cobalt, nickel, etc. for all of these new technologies. Now, these are environmentally disastrous. Okay. Now, very few people, frankly, sir, very few people are addressing this issue of how do I make sustainable alternatives to lithium, cobalt, etc. Right? The world's dependence on China will continue because of the rare earth dominance that they have, for example, right? Now, imagine when we were talking about developing these new alternative technologies, if a scientist was wearing this ESG framework in his head, and he had said that if I use lithium, is it sustainable or not? And suppose he had found an alternative to lithium, which was sustainable, which was as healthy as, let's say, hydrogen, green hydrogen, which is extremely useful. Frankly, ask yourself a question. Would you have been as impressed with that scientist as you will be with the scientist who will solve this lithium problem for us? Okay. Now, until we do this mind shift, okay. Now, but I'm an eternal optimist. Okay. There's this huge development of what I call impact funds who are asking a lot of questions about de novo when you start. Is whatever you're doing sustainable or not? Okay. Now, there is a homily which my father used to talk. Sorry, I'll keep on quoting him. My father passed away last year in July. He used to say a lot of things which I think still have a lot of merit. He used to say, what gets measured gets done. We know that. We've heard it before, right? What gets recognized gets done better. We understand that concept also, which is important. What he used to say is what gets rewarded will continue to get better and better. Now, how do you link these three things into what you're doing every day? Now, the first movement away from financial metrics was the balance scorecard, which broadened the horizon of the metrics that we should be looking at. Now, I know that a lot of ESG metrics have actually come into the way we measure ourselves and the way we reward ourselves. It is said that people overestimate what they can achieve in a day and always underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years. I would like to paraphrase that for companies by saying that they overestimate what they think they can achieve in a quarter, but they severely underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years' time. Now, what is the root cause? Okay, why do we not realize? Because we are not able to consistently, tenaciously, and diligently keep at what we are doing, right? So if we are able to bring in an ESG mindset, which asks us to question everything what we are doing at that initial seed sprout stage, uh, I believe that the solutions that we will get in the future will be much more powerful, but we will have to learn how to appreciate those things when they're at that early stage. One last comment that I wanted to make, one of the reasons why these changes are extremely difficult in companies, 30, 40, 50 years ago, the default route to CEO-ship was marketing. If you were a good marketer, you would be you would make it to CEO-ship. Around 20, 25 years ago, this moved to finance. The CFO today is the default route to CEO-ship. Have I got anything against CFOs? Absolutely not. I love CFOs. They do a very important task. But a not so nice way of looking at them is also called, they're also called bean counters, right? Is it fair? No, it's not fair. But they're called bean counters. Unless we build a framework which helps all of us to identify issues which are long-term in their orientation, which means this shift will have to happen, that if you've seen the movie Ratatouille, Chef Gusteau in that movie propounded a very revolutionary thought, apparently saying anyone can cook, right? I would like this to be paraphrased or force fit into an organizational context by saying that anyone should be able to become the CEO, which means that there should be no default route. It could be the HR person, it could be the research head, it could be the marketing guy, it could be the sales guy, it could be anyone who could become and that change will happen only when we are able to broaden the set of metrics that we are looking at, and frankly, learning how to solve problems at the seed and sprout stage and appreciating it, recognizing it, and rewarding it. One last thing he used to say, that disrupt your own business or your company or your processes or your product yourself before somebody else does it for you. You know, this whole ecosystem that is developing around startups is going to massively disrupt the whole environment that we have today. One last example of which should be relevant to an auto company. There's a concept of regenerative braking, which means you take the energy which is wasted through friction and heat when you are braking a car and reuse that to provide acceleration to a car when it starts accelerating again. Now, how old is this technology? 50 years old. 50 years old, okay? No company was interested in bringing this technology out for 50 years because the system did not force us to change. Today, that technology is inbuilt into the hybrid car, okay? Now, am I happy about it? Yes, but hybrid cars got forced onto us because of the energy crisis. Now, the point I'm making is that there are lots of such things lying out there. If boards can start asking the right questions, if boards can start listening to answers to these questions, we'll see much better innovation coming out, and we will see problems getting solved at much earlier stages than what we are seeing right now. So that's something which I thought would be
fabulous. Fabulous, Anish. Absolutely insightful. And you've already got complimentary comments in the chat box from listeners saying that these are stunningly revolutionary and very useful thoughts. So I don't need to say any more. But we'll go to Imran, who has dealt with so much disruption and so much of investing and so much of everything that has been said so far. Imran, you can bring it all together for us from your perspective as a person who has, I believe, largely been into private equity your entire career. So Imran, over to you.
Thank you, Shailesh Bhai. And I must say that Shailesh has been on our board of advisors for since inception. So Gaja Capital is a private equity firm. We're independent, founder-owned entrepreneurs that happen to be investors as well. And we've been around for 16 years and are investing from our fourth fund now. And Shailesh Bhai is on our board of advisors and constantly challenges us to not just do well, but do good. So I'm very pleased to be on this panel to discuss this very important topic. Anish, I really liked your, I like the many frameworks that you use, but the last one was really interesting, which is, what measure gets done, but then, recognition and reward just takes it to another level. And I would argue, because I'm a capitalist at heart, that the ultimate form, of getting things done is to allocate capital. If you're serious about a cause, you allocate hard cash to that cause. That's when the rubber hits the road. And if we increasingly live in a commercial world, nothing to take away from the nonprofits, nothing to take away from very high quality governments around the world that do great work. But in an increasingly commercial, capitalist global economy, capital allocation has demonstrated real change over the last many decades. Let me take private equity and venture capital as one specific example of that, and I'm part of that industry. When we started Gaja Capital 16 years ago, the total private equity and venture capital investments in India were less than $3 billion. And today it's on an annualized 65 billion. So we've really created a massive industry. But what is interesting when you have an industry as big as this, it comes attached with demands from some of the best, most sophisticated investors from around the world. And those demands then whitewash and organize and drive real change in the ground. And to start with, it was about triple bottom line. I'm very, very fortunate, Shailesh Bhai, you mentioned most of my careers in private equity. My other two shots in my career were with two very respectable organizations, Wipro Technologies and Dr. Reddy's, that I have a lot of regard for. Because even when ESG was not a buzzword, I know that Azim Premji in his work and Dr. Anji Reddy in his work decided early on in the Indian context that they will not just build market cap and value and a business of global scale, but they will truly deliver to the triple bottom line. But with private equity, India saw initiatives like ESG largely because of the good work of IFC and investors like that, ensuring that this capital comes attached with governance, with sustainability, with respect for environment. And that has now made way for, like some of you have said, climate-focused funds or impact funds or ESG funds, and every major asset manager around the world now has an ESG vertical. And I think that's great to see. ESG capital around the world now is a $17 trillion industry. It's not small by any standards. It's growing by 20% a year. This is now a mainstream asset class. And I think, Tara, you were saying ESG is a horizontal and a vertical that touches every aspect of our commercial lives. And I absolutely agree with that. What has snowballed further from the start of private equity and venture capital demanding ESG compliance, measuring it, recognizing it, rewarding it, allocating capital to it, is something else. And what is interesting is that when you look at ESG, investment choices are now getting driven by it. Employees are choosing companies to work in based on how responsible you are. Consumers are picking products only if it fits, their understanding of whether you're responsible. And fortunately for us, governments are now finally waking up to the idea that this is a must-have. So if you look at the stakeholders that are coming together, seeded, I would argue, by the commercial world, by the, not just private equity, but by the entrepreneurial and commercial world, it's now spilling over and broad basing. And I think that's really good to see. But I've been spending a lot of my time thinking about the other part, which is, it's one thing to tag capital with ESG or a company with ESG, do a ESG due diligence, measure it, recognize it, reward it, and so on. But are you really creating real impact? There are two reals in that sentence, and I spend a lot of time on that. So, for instance, Gaja Capital decided 16 years ago that we won't be an impact fund. We're a commercial fund our primary responsibility is to generate mainstream returns for our investors. However, we solve this dilemma by self-selecting into sectors that have natural impact, such as education, employment, employability, financial inclusion. And our partner selection always had, we never called it ESG, but the entrepreneurs that we partnered with, we used to use the term meritocratic capital. We took great pride when we started in 16 years ago to say, we're going to allocate capital on the basis of merit and merit alone, which means we're not going to invest in large conglomerates. We're going to go after first generation entrepreneurs whose heart beats for the same things that our hearts beat for, that you're building a business that's good, that does good and also does well. And we spend a lot of time on that. And this is important because, we were speaking about climate change. There is a Bill Gates view of the world and there's a Greta Thunberg view of the world. And I've tuned into both. I think Greta Thunberg doesn't like the boards and governments and committees around the world spending an enormous amount of time, energy in what she calls the blah, blah on climate change. And then you have a Bill Gates who's taking a more systemic view to say, look, it is going to take time for you to find new technologies and so on. But I think there's some truth on both ends of the spectrum, isn't it? And I think the rubber hits the road again from our perspective on backing entrepreneurs that are trying to solve real problems, allocating capital to young entrepreneurs, in the entire spectrum of climate change, if you were to take that one specific example. And for us at Gaja Capital that are constantly looking for the next big thing, we found education 16 years ago. We found software as a service as growth capital investors 3 years ago. We backed financial inclusion, about 7 or 8 years ago. And for us to back entrepreneurs in climate change as and when they scale and become validated businesses is going to be very exciting. And I'm very happy to see that what started with, this notion of doing good and good well is now snowballing into massive value creation opportunities, and is touching all stakeholders. And I think India can lead the way for the world because of not just the cultural orientation towards how we run our businesses, but also now technology allows us to be able to create innovation and spread it globally, much easier than it was possible earlier.
Fabulous, Imran. What a way to bring investing, aspirational aspects from employees, future employees, consumers, everybody into one very elegant framework that you used, and fully illustrated by, what you have done on the ground. You've put your money where your mouth is. And I've seen that across the board in all your investments. So that's really fabulous. I would now like to go to the youngest member of this panel, Prerna. Prerna is a freshly minted graduate from a very important school internationally. And she has now decided to give herself to making the HR processes ESG ready. So she's got a fantastic new company, which has also been very instrumental in sponsoring this series for CII, Zing HR. And all of you have sort of seen the Zing HR logo everywhere. So Prerna is part of Zing HR, and I'm very happy to ask her to speak to us on how she feels about ESG and boards and getting capital. She just closed a 50 crore round from a very important investor. So she's going to share a lot of insights. Prerna.
Thank you. Definitely. Thank you so much for the introduction, and really honored to be the part of this panel, right? I think even though I might be the youngest, so there are some takes that I might give it at the end of just to throw it out there for the older generations. So let me just start.
Okay.
So I'll try not to, but yeah. So as throughout all the roundtable discussions, we have seen that globally there's an increase in interest within the ESG part, right? And exactly like Mr. Imran said, now even Indian government is actively taking part. They are proactively going for ESG initiatives. And the recent example of LIC is a good example where Indian government is going back to the company and saying, go for an ESG rating, right? This kind of initiatives will lead the LIC to go back and check in all their portfolio companies, go and check in the ESG lens. Now they will understand to recheck each and every business aspects under the ESG lens, right? We had a similar experience when we went out for our fundraising, right? The recent fundraising, the investors took a really good time looking into our ESG practices, right? First, one of the challenges that we faced was, even though being a startup, we had our own sustainable practices. We did contribution to the society. We had trainings for the retired army officers to prepare them for the corporate world. All such practices, we've been doing it. But the one thing we didn't do is we didn't document these processes, right? We didn't document. And we also noted that these practices weren't touching all the levels, all the areas of our company, right? One more thing that I've learned is, even though ESG is the purpose, it's the end purpose, it's the need of the day, we need to understand there are multiple means that contribute to this purpose, right? And these means can be as small as switching off the lights when it's not in need, right? Within this ESG GD, I've identified those small things, when adopted in mass, makes a greater impact, right? And these small things cannot be from the board, okay, do this. These are the things that has to be in the DNA, in the mindset and the culture of the organization, right? And these DNA culture has to be rooted. With this exercise, with this experience, now we have come up with a framework that kind of mix in the structured manner and the DNA manner. So we have the framework that touches all the levels of the organization. And now we are using tools like rewards and recognition, like how Mr. Anish mentioned, all these rewards, when all these initiatives, when rewarded, we see growth, right? So these kind of growth, when recognized by the people who do it in individual level, these create a greater impact within the corporation, and then it ripples around the ecosystem, right? So now we are using tools like R&R, OKR to have all across the level surveys. We are also using balanced scorecard, right? So I think with this particular exercise, experience, I can definitely say ESG is just not about doing good intention, having good intention. It's actually about practically getting down, having a roadmap to achieve those tangible results. Right now, I think we have spent so many years just talking, exactly how Greta said, most of blah, blah, blah. Right now, I can see a lot of firms getting into a phase where they are doing the roadmaps, getting tangible. But I feel we need to do a bit more than what we are doing, right? And to do that bit more, I have to ask for the boards, people who are in the boards. One, so Mr. Pratap spoke about how there are tons of startups that are coming up with innovative solutions, right? And while there are financial institutions, and how Mr. Imran said about Ps and VCs actually focusing on these funds, as a corporate, I think we should also go a step ahead, and within the board should allocate separate funds for us to help these startups. Okay, I'm not just saying invest in them. I'm trying to say, you need to keep on some time and energy. It could be as simple as, introducing your client base to these startups. So not just you are implementing these solutions, you're also giving out to the clients. So the impact increases. Right now, even within Zingacha, we are at the continuous lookout to integrate with companies such as Recycle or Akshay Patra or Nandi Foundations, right? So this is one of the solutions that I feel it's very important. The second point, I think throughout the roundtable, we have discussed how we have millennials and Gen Zs being the next workforce, right? And even the study shows, UN noted that there are about 3.7 billion people who are aged below 30. That's half of the population, global population. And this account is of 2021, right? And studies have also shown these youngsters are more concerned at their, and especially they are more action driven, right? Even though they are out there, but when it comes to decision making, they are usually like sidelined, right? So even though, okay, you may say they're not skilled enough or something, but I think the most important step here is to actually identify those young influencer, train them, because you have the expertise, train them, but they should be included as a decision make in the decision making process to make the greater impact. Because even though right now older generation are concerned, but here the younger generation are more concerned, scared, and they are the more change creators probably. Yeah. So I think with this
Yes, Prerna, very true. Absolutely true. We all have heard your message loud and clear.
yeah.
We'll all take it up.
Yes,
So
I think
you've been very effective in your communication. I'm so happy to hear you.
thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Abhay, you'll have to now top it up by sharing what you do at Recycle.
Thanks, Elish, and thanks for inviting us here. So I will just spend a couple of minutes on just explaining that how I landed in this panel, right? So that ESG is a word which, frankly, I had a couple of meetings with Imran in my last venture for funding. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so this is my third venture. So I built a startup from 1998, ran an e-commerce company for 8 years. Then I built a first SaaS company of India, and subsequently exited it in 2015. So till 2015, I have a couple of term sheets, couple of investments in my company. I never had any ESG word coming anywhere. Nobody was talking about it. So when after my exit, after a year of transferring all the responsibilities, I was looking at the new opportunities. And somewhere, I think that instinct of entrepreneur that waste management looks like opportunity. And that's where I think as an entrepreneur, I landed into a waste management space. Nothing, we didn't know anything except the kabadiwala which comes to our home. We were really not aware about anything else in that space. And one approach, there were a lot of white papers, a lot of data which is like been extrapolated by doing a survey of 100 houses and said that India generates so much of waste. So there's a lot of information available, but the ground level reality. So we actually decided to get into a waste management space. Whole objective was to really disrupt and do a digital transformation in the waste management. That is how we approached it. And we said to do that, we really know who are the stakeholders, what are the problems, how does they operate. And when we did that first 2 years, we call it as our MBA in Waste Management, Harvard MBA in Waste Management, that is 2017 and 18. These are 2 years we spent only on understanding the stakeholders and what they do, right? How does the waste happen? Because waste is a very, very big problem across the universe. In our country also, it's a very large problem. And it need to be solved. It has a social, environmental impact everywhere. So the E and S was already there, in fact, but we were not aware about it. That ESG word was not the word that time anybody was talking about. So we started our journey. We spent 2 years, worked with 1,000 rat pickers, kabadiwalas, government, recyclers. And to our surprise, we realized that the waste commerce is much larger than e-commerce. That was the first thing I learned during my, because I did e-commerce. I was the first e-commerce marketplace in India in 1998 when India was talking about internet. So I was ahead of the time, that time 10 years ahead of the time. In SaaS business, I was 3 years ahead of the time. Luckily, this time with all gray hairs, I think I was on time. So we learned that in the first 2 years that the market is just different, very, very big approach. Because every startup was trying to focus on the pre-consumption and consumption stage of the market. Nobody was focusing on post-consumption. Again, this is not a sexy business. This is a dirty business. A lot of what do you do today, even when I go to my home, my friends ask me what you do. I said, kachre ka kaam karta hu, right? That's because it is a social stigma again against it. But then we realized that this is a very large opportunity. And the first 2 years, really, we call it, really gave us a lot of insights. The few learnings are like, it's a $100 billion market. All these surveys and reports we have that India generate 12 million metric tons of plastic. Completely wrong. India must be generating 40 million metric tons of plastic. But those data are not there. These are all extrapolated data with 500 houses or 100 houses data. This whole circular economy was a new buzzword. So we did that 2 years research, and then we learned that 2%, 1.5% of the Indian population gets food every day because somebody in their family is working in waste management. So that was another big learning. There are 50 million rag pickers who are most exploited socially. If somebody has to work on social aspect of ESG, I think this is the area to work on. Their lifestyle is so bad. They are really exploited. They only get out of 100 rupees, which is generated in the recycling ecosystem, from when the waste is generated from my house till it reaches to the recycler for a circular economy purpose, they get only 20-25% of the value. Rest of the value is taken by the middlemen who are in between. Right? There is a mafia. There are so many misconceptions about this business that I have experienced when I started talking about fundraise with few people after getting the scale. So initially I funded it because I got a decent exit in last round. So I said, let me do the learning. I don't want to do a learning on somebody else's money. So we did that learning. And when we went for a first series round, first pre-series round, and I wanted an institutional investor, that is where I came across the word called ESG, right? And that is where I faced the first ESG audit, right? It was a small round, $2-3 million round, but then the 3 audits happened, 3 due diligence happened: financial diligence, legal, and ESG. And that is where I think we came across something called ESG. And that was again, and by then, and we realized that we started talking to many investors, and then the latest round happened around 20 days back. It was a much larger round. I think there the ESG was much deeper focus. And we saw that they were talking about that any vendors you onboard should have a ESG compliance. I said, this market is still evolving, right? The rack pickers, the collection centers cannot be ESG compliant now. We are trying to make it. Overnight, if you expect us that give us a declaration that every seller on our marketplace is ESG compliant, is not possible. So I think that was our approach towards, that is how we learned ESG as a buzzword that time. But last 2 years, the things have completely changed. And in the journey, in the last 5-6 years of journey of Recycle, where we work almost with 150 plus brands who are the producers of waste, like plastic, e-waste, including all top, Unilever, Pepsi, Coke, all are our clients. Then we work with 10,000 rack pickers at the ground level. So there are the 2 extremes we got, and we connected them using the digital technologies. The whole intent was that a generator or a collector, first level collector, to a producer, can we bring all of them in one platform? I know it's a very vast task. Even if we could do 2-3% of the formalization of waste management industry in next 3-4 years, I think that itself will be a $5-10 billion opportunity, and that we have seen in a deep way. So during this whole process, we started Recycle as an initial journey as a B2C service provider. We used to collect waste from the house of people. You can just download an app and pick up a request. From there, we transited to a marketplace, B2B marketplace. From there, the circular economy aspect came in. So we started working with the recyclers, the producers. The 4th word came in as a sustainability platform. So we went through a sustainability. So from the consumer service to a ESG was the last 6 years. Every year we had a different learning and different journey. But all these 150 corporates, out of that, at least 50 for last 1 year started talking to, because ours was always a technology first approach. We're a technology company at heart, which is providing solution in waste management. So they started reaching out to us after working with us for a couple of years on the extended producer responsibility, which was a compliance requirement. As per that, they started working with us. So they said, we would like to go deep. We'd like to work on sustainability aspect. Do we have a platform which can provide us the platform, which can really provide us the traceability and transparency in the process? But that is the biggest challenge. As Imran said, Anish said, that whatever get measured is something only can be improved or can be worked upon. So the couple of observations which I got in last few interactions of all my corporate clients, that ESG is no longer about compliance now. I think people are thinking beyond it. It's more moral, ethical levels, and corporates at the corporate level as well as at the individual level. So it is actually helping to define, and ESG is helping defining the personality and the culture of the most of the corporates. I think that change is happening now, and we are seeing that change happening in last couple of quarters or months, particularly after 2019 pandemic, post-pandemic. The whole thing is completely different. what we thought then, the whole objective, what we thought that we had an option to build a platform which can just get the data at one place and provide the reports which are required for the stock market or the compliance requirement. That is something many have started doing. And there are many consultants who help companies to really make these things happen and give them guidelines how to go about it. We thought one step ahead. We said, it's not just a responsibility of a corporate, it's a responsibility of every employee, every individual who's working in the corporate, right? And unless all of them, if I speak to my daughter, she might not know the word ESG. Or if I speak to, out of 200 employees I have, my people are knowing, but any other company I take, many will have heard that name somewhere, but what does this mean? And what does this whole sustainability is all about? Is something they don't know. So what we started working with, so we're doing we are launching a ESG/sustainability platform where the two corporates we're working with, one is a very large pharmaceutical company with 60,000-70,000 employees, and one is a global consulting group with 500,000 employees. So both of them India focused. So we started working with them that you should involve your workforce into this. Unless that happens, this whole ESG will remain a buzzword at the boardroom level, and the real impact, they will do it at the factory level, they will do it at some level, but is that enough? No. Unless I start implementing those ESG related activities in my personal life, we are not going to see a larger impact. And we got a great risk. This both were inbound leads. So just to give you a context, it was not something we reached out. They said, we are a technology company working in waste. So naturally, they are connecting us with ESG. We got connected there. It was not something which was planned. So these two projects which we have started, one project where we have 500,000 employees to reach out, and by March, April, we're launching it. And we will be tracking a couple of activities of the employees. One is naturally waste, because that is our core business. And the next one is energy. Third is healthcare. Fourth is travel and consumption. And last one is social. So the 5 aspects we are trying to capture the day-to-day activities of the employees with a complete traceability. We don't want anything just I came here, I went to a rack picker and helped him. That is not something which need to be tracked, which need to have a clear-cut visibility that I have done this activity. So for example, energy, we are putting, the corporate is putting some initiatives where the direct bill from the electricity generator will come to our system. He has to just enter his ID. And then we know is there any energy consumption or energy saving he has done. Waste, so we can anyway have a complete traceability available. Similar way, we are bringing in the new solutions there. And the idea is that measure. So this will take care of that measuring that part of it. Second is the corporate is intending to recognize them for that. So the second part, which Anish also said, that you recognize them. So social recognition, and then they are also given an option to bring the network effect by bringing their friends and family on this platform, so that they also can be a part of that. So we are also giving that solution to them. So where this 500,000 people can get another 500,000 people into the system, and 1 million people will start thinking. And the last one is reward. So that is a very important aspect, because one thing I have learned in my life, that without incentives, nothing happens in this country. We as a consumer, as we don't want to act unless there's a fear or a greed. So the important aspect which one of these companies trying to implement is their appraisal circle. They are putting 5% of the weightage to the ESG score, which is going to get tracked on our platform. So as if they do this for next financial year, I'm telling you, the whole thing will change. If you just request them, there will be 2 or 5 or 10% will act. But as soon as it becomes a part of your review process yearly, that is going to change. So I think we are trying to really bring that ground level change and provide this whole technology and the ecosystem of logistics and everything required, and trying to change that aspect into the business.
Fabulous, Abhay. What a great journey you've had. I really am totally impressed. I must say, on an overall basis, I have been so impressed by everything I've heard today. So much learning. I wonder why we should not cut off, Naina, speakers at the age of 35. Abhay being an exception. But really, what an amazing set of interventions we've had today. I'm just deeply impressed. Fortunately for us, we don't have any questions in the question box. And therefore, the brilliance of Anirban is in the way he brings everything together. He did that at the first such workshop, and he did it so brilliantly. I want to give him all the time that we have from here on. So Anirban, it's all yours to bring all these wonderful speakers' thoughts and insights and inputs together. Over to you.
Very tough task, Shailesh Bhai. Very tough task indeed. And whenever praise precedes action, we're all set for failure.
Alas.
But let me start by putting what Anish said in a different context. I think we got very lucky today. We got seed, sprout, bud, flower, all of it from an agriculture perspective. But as Anish was speaking, I was wondering if you waited till the flower or the cauliflower stage to solve a problem, especially if it were to be a human health problem, then the poor patient wouldn't be too far away from becoming a cabbage. And
True.
is a very, very powerful idea indeed. I think all of us have lost people very close to us to cancer. And whatever can be done in that area is wonderful. But the main perspective that I took away from that analogy was to anticipate unintended consequences of the actions that we are taking. And Anish very nicely gave us some examples about how if somebody were to solve a particular problem without letting an intermediate problem develop, he probably won't become as famous as he would otherwise become. But this whole business of climate change is actually trying to solve unintended consequences of solutions which we were all very happy about. So it is from that perspective that I found the analogy very, very powerful. And if it is such a powerful analogy, I'm not surprised that it's the super horizontal and the super vertical. But if it is both, I'm tempted to ask, shall we call ESG the super diagonal then? Why are we being constrained by vertical and horizontal, which I suppose is a very management consultant organization structure? So maybe we've got a super diagonal sitting with us.
Good one.
Well, a super diagonal, if we have a super diagonal, then I'm not surprised that there is acceleration of action. And Pratap brought it out by mentioning the 720,000 clean tech startups he's working with. The mind boggles. I don't know how you handle 720,000 startups, Pratap. Best wishes to you. I hope many of them solve many of our problems going forward. We got a whole lot of examples of how ESG is leading to disruption of business. The example of Reliance using its petroleum assets, moving to hydrogen, and Adani setting up hydrogen and all of that. Of course, I'm from Mahindra. The automobile industry is getting disrupted. We are moving to electric vehicles. It's not just a change of fuel. The change in technology, the change in ecosystem is so big that I think only if you are faced with the transition do you realize the enormity of the task that you have in front. So we had examples of ESG leading to disruption. We had examples of new businesses using ESG to build business better, Licious being one of them. Then, of course, there were examples of new kinds of activities within old businesses. So diamonds, furniture, and a few others. And then there were a list of new kinds of businesses. But before I mention them, I must say once again that we lucked out because in our heading, we thought we'll only talk about new kinds of businesses, but look at all the categories we got. We got the disruptions, we got new businesses using ESG to build business, new kinds of activities within old businesses, I think all of which would not have come out if we didn't have all these sub 35-year-olds in our panel, Shailesh.
Right.
Right. So let me then mention a few of the really new kinds of businesses that that we did discuss. So there was circularity in many forms, not just, and Abhay, of course, gave us a very, very good understanding of the issues related to circularity, but the opportunity of circularity also Abhay made very clear. Then there was a fleeting mention of plant-based meat, which could well become a very large business of the future. When I hear of a plant-based meat option in the McDonald's menu, well, the mind boggles, but I believe it is not unreal anymore. We talked of hydrogen. We talked about batteries with specific reference to rare earth alternatives. Actually, batteries is not a done story. There is lots more that's going to happen. At current levels of energy intensity or energy density, I don't think we will solve all the problems of the world. So I think we should look out for a completely revolutionary battery technologies going forward. I once started tracking little snippets on new technology. And in a period of 2 months, we had listed 40 new battery technologies that were being worked on somewhere or the other in the world. Now, I'm not a technological expert, but all I can say is if there are so many irons in the fire, something is going to catch fire. Right? Because there are people like Imran giving money to all these 40 new technologies, right? And all of them can't be making a mistake. So there's batteries. And then, of course, the very interesting idea of leveraging a tech platform to make sustainability personal. I know Abhay didn't use those words. That's the name of a program we run within the Mahindra Group to make sustainability personal, because if it doesn't become everyone's thing, you don't build organization culture. So I thought that was a very interesting idea. And of course, in the financial world, the ESG funds and the ESG focused investments and so on, which are also something which is completely new. And I hope they take shape in a manner in which they really create good impact going forward. But if all these new kinds of businesses are to grow, they obviously need to be rewarded while they are growing. And if Imran is our whose words we should go by, then they should get capital allocation. Only then are they going to grow. And so it is actually quite interesting about the collection of panelists we've had today. We have people who are entrepreneurs, we have people who are in private equity, and I guess, and then we have, I've always admired Pratap's work, the way he keeps coming up with these new startups, one after the other, one after the other. And Pratap, if you want a place which is a living lab or a skunk works for any of your of the startups that you are working with, look at the Mahindra Group. We love doing these kinds of things. We've done it before. A lot of the energy efficiency technologies of the country have got beta tested in our factories and places, because my colleagues just seem to love doing this. They enjoy solving this problem. Well, these were 9 points that I picked up during the conversation. It was so vibrant, I must have missed out on some, so please forgive me if I didn't mention any of something that you really love but I missed it out in this little summary of mine. No, thank you very much.
That was brilliant, and my praise in advance was totally justified. But no, I want to thank each and every one of you for this extraordinary panel, and the insights we got were just stunning, extraordinary. Thank you all very much, and have a good evening. Enjoy yourselves, and let's keep engaged. Naina, please make sure everybody knows everybody else's connections, okay? So people can keep in touch if they wish to.
That'll be nice. Thank
Lovely.
You.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.